Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we have DICE developers openly admitting on Twitter they designed the game incorrectly. We'll be getting into that. This has to do with recoil, gunplay, and some of the things people have been mentioning for months. And we have another developer tweet confirming they will be reverting to aim assist settings that were used in the open beta, and some controversy and discussion surrounding the benefits for using a controller such as lower recoil and of course the aim assist. So this should be a very spicy video. If you enjoy the channel, be sure to hit the sub button, hit the like button, and comment your thoughts on all this stuff, especially regarding the recoil stuff, which we'll be getting into first. So this whole recoil thing starts off with a person on Twitter called Abdullah. He has been tweeting at the developers saying there is something wrong with this game's recoil, there's something wrong with the way recoil interacts with your input, and I've seen a ton of other people say this, I have said it, and yeah, basically there's just something wrong with the way Battlefield 6's recoil feels. It is quite obvious if you've experienced playing previous Battlefield games, and that is what Abdullah is really hammering DICE about on Twitter, and he says, so basically, after doing a perfect 360 with Kovac's tool and having zero error in momentum, the aim is still way off when starting to shoot. This needs to be fixed immediately and should be a high priority. Now, this tweet did garner the attention of Drunksy, who is the principal game designer for EA DICE at Battlefield, and he said, "We are looking into it. I don't think it's a bug that we are looking at, though. Recoil is essentially added to your aim input, so if you move your aim against the recoil, it will feel more sluggish. If you move your aim with the recoil, it will accelerate it, but you may prefer that it doesn't do that, which is something that we are evaluating as it would change how recoil feels for a lot of people that may actually be fine with how it works." Excuse me? This is intended? Leave it to DICE to implement a recoil mechanic that feels so bad that people assume it's a bug, only for developers to confirm that this is actually an intended mechanic. The first thing I'll say has to do with Drunksy's second statement where he says, but you may prefer that it doesn't do that, which is something we are evaluating as it would change how recoil feels for a lot of people that may actually be fine with it. The people that are fine with this, ignore them. They know nothing. Under absolutely no circumstances ever should recoil affect your input. That is not how it worked in any previous Battlefield game, and to my knowledge, I can't name a single game where recoil affects your input, especially inconsistently based on what direction you are trying to track a moving target, whether it be left or right. As Drunksy explained above, he basically said recoil is added to your aim input, so if you move your aim against the recoil, it will feel more sluggish, and if you move your aim with the recoil, it will accelerate it. To better visualize this, let's go into the test range. So we're going to take a look at this in real time here. I'm using the Cord 6P67 without any recoil attachments on it. This is the weapon that really showcases this quote-unquote mechanic the best. And I highly recommend you either go in multiplayer or you go into the test range to get a better feel of what I'm actually trying to show you. So I'm going to start off by just demonstrating the normal recoil of the Cord. I'm just going to shoot. And as you can see, it recoils with a horizontal bias up and to the left. Now, based on what Drunksy said, if you are trying to control recoil by pulling down and to the right, and then you try to track a target that is moving right while shooting, you are basically pulling your aim into the wall of recoil and you will feel resistance. Whereas if you try to do the same thing while you're shooting and pulling left, trying to track a target, it will actually be accelerating or pushing your aim, or it feels like it's pushing your aim to the left. That's just straight up not how gaming should feel. I'm sorry, that is incorrect. This should be changed immediately. Weapons having horizontally biased recoil patterns is not a new thing to Battlefield. If you go back to Battlefield 4, weapons had the exact same thing, except the recoil versus aim input thing wasn't a thing. So you could control the recoil and aim just perfectly fine in any direction you wanted, and it would feel quote-unquote normal, or how we expect it to feel. In Battlefield 6, because of this new quote-unquote mechanic, there are some things that just feel, well, fucked up. And again, this needs to be addressed immediately and completely removed so that the game feels more akin to what people expected. So there you have it. If you've been playing Battlefield 6 and you ever thought to yourself, man, shooting weapons in this game feels slightly fucked up, I wonder why that is, this is exactly why that is. And I think as a community, we need to come together, get passionate about this, and say, developers, remove this mechanic, please, because this heavily affects every single gunfight in Battlefield 6 and the entire feel of the game. Now moving on to some separate news regarding controller and some changes that are going to be occurring. There was a tweet from Silk that reads, no need for 25% less recoil on controller in Battlefield 6, especially for RedSec. This literally changes the feel of gunfights. I can feel when I'm against a controller, definitely at mid-range. Devs also promised no rotational aim assist. What the fuck happened to that, guys? And then a developer that is literally the lead console and controller design person at EA replied to Silk and said, we are reverting back to open beta aim assist settings shortly. He then goes on to answer Silk's question about how open beta differed from the release version of the game, and he said, far less stickiness, so it does not create that rotational persistence that is currently live, consistent slowdown, no ramp, recoil reduction is a separate system from aim assist, but will be getting adjusted also once the new tech is online. So some controller changes coming to Battlefield 6. Any single time, whenever you talk about controller, whenever you talk about the balance of aim assist, whenever you talk about whether or not controller needs recoil reduction, the conversation immediately devolves into, well, basically insults. But I'm going to give my opinion on this subject and my experience playing Battlefield 6 and the Battle Royale, and let's just hope the comment section is a little civil here. I definitely think controller getting 25% less recoil is pretty insane. I think a lot of people downplay just how massive that recoil reduction really is, particularly for longer range gunfights. That recoil reduction is so strong, controller players' the meta attachments are different for their weapons because they don't necessarily have to run recoil control attachments. That is how impactful that recoil reduction really is. Now, in terms of the aim assist, again, I don't think anyone wants aim assist to be incredibly overpowered. I don't think controller players want it to be incredibly overpowered. In fact, traditionally, the Battlefield community is actually one of the only controller communities I've ever seen that is actively against having aim assist be super strong. But on the other hand, I do think a lot of Battlefield controller players do underplay the strength of Battlefield's aim assist. It isn't weak, guys. It's definitely extremely sticky. It does help you win gunfights. It does not lose you gunfights. I've seen a lot of Battlefield players in the past say, well, I turned my aim assist off. That shit doesn't help. Buddy, I got news for you. You don't know what you're doing. Like, you are actively hindering yourself. But when it comes to aim assist, I don't think Battlefield's aim assist is near Call of Duty level or anything. I don't necessarily think the aim assist itself needs to be, like, removed or gutted or heavily nerfed or anything like that. All I want is for the game to have a nice, balanced aim assist experience and for there to be less focus on having auto-rotational aim assist in video games. For those of you that don't know what auto-rotation is, it's the type of aim assist PC players complain about when they're talking about Apex Legends and Call of Duty. As long as that stuff is kept out of the game, it's pretty much fine. They just have to dial in everything to make sure that it's well balanced. But in terms of the recoil reduction, I personally hope they actually nerf it a little bit. I would like to see it come down from 25% reduction to about 15%, maybe even 10%. And if you want the full truth, I'm compromising with 15% because if it were left up to me, I would remove the recoil reduction entirely because as far as I'm aware, controller getting less recoil, especially in an arcade game like Battlefield, is extremely abnormal. Call of Duty does not reduce recoil for controller players. And maybe some other games do actually reduce recoil for controller, but Battlefield should not be one of them, and I don't care that other Battlefields have been doing it traditionally. It should have never been a thing in my opinion, so I certainly hope to see it nerfed to about 10% recoil reduction, and we'll have to see what these other controller changes actually do to gameplay. Again, the goal here is balance. The goal here is not to ruin the controller experience. The goal here is not to implement full mouse and keyboard superiority. The goal here is a more even playing field for everybody, okay? And that's pretty much going to wrap this video up. On the off chance that a DICE developer is listening to this video, I am begging you, please, please, please fix the recoil/aim input interaction. It should never work like that. Your input should not be, fighting the recoil in any direction. You should be able to control the recoil and aim the same way in every single direction without any sort of weird inconsistency or hindrance. So with that being said, if you do enjoy the content, hit that sub button, be sure to hit that like button, and let me know your thoughts on all this stuff. I'm sure the comments for this video in particular are going to be absolutely spicy, so I'm kind of excited to read that. Thank you guys so much for your thoughts and for watching the video, and I will see you guys in the next video.